I'm going to make 3 points. I'm sure you had a lot of general discussion, but I'll briefly start with the importance of global supply chains, give you a little bit of history of auto industry policy, and then just lay a few issues for the future. I'm sure all the details on auto industry, etc., we will introduce and we'll have a good discussion here. So, importance of supply chains, it's very important from a national perspective. They are a driver of exports, FDI, skills and growth. As you probably heard, I don't know if nobody had a detailed discussion, but 2/3 of the global exports occur through supply chains. In my view, the next 5 to 10 years, a shift of supply chains to India can be the biggest driver of growth in India. From a state level, I think part of this objective is to reach out to the states. I think it's important for them to understand that a lot of research comparing exporting firms and domestic firms shows that exporting firms are more profitable, more productive, and generate more skilled and higher wage jobs. So the states have an interest and a stake if they are interested in generating jobs, higher skilled jobs, more productivity in their state. It's in their interest to take part in this national effort. On auto industry policy, very briefly, on India, Thailand, and China, and then I'll come to the a few policy issues. Of course, we'll have a lot more detailed discussion, and I hope you won't mind. I intervene to ask questions. I'm here partly to learn. I just want to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. So industrial structure and policy choice, very briefly. I'm sure all the people from the auto industry know, but many of the others probably don't. That we created a domestic monopoly, a JV called Maruti Suzuki in 1981. After that, in the 90s reform, we had a choice. We could have created a duopoly, put in 1 or 2 additional firms, but we actually decided that we would have one company and allowing FDI freely, during the 91 reforms. Given lack of time, I won't tell you, but I still remember a very lucky instance that I was in the finance ministry and all the people above me were absent. And I got a desperate call from the Secretary of Industry saying, I have to make this decision. I have to tell the PM what to do. What should I do? Well, I said, go free. Don't follow the China model. Now you can judge for yourself whether I could put it right. That's what happened, fortunately. So we created this thing and we started actually, it's interesting that by 1984, the backward integration had started. I used to interact with the Sona people, the Sona Cool Steering company was set up. But I think there is an issue and I'll just come to that. So we did, through this policy of allowing companies to come in freely, we created a large number of firms, had a lot of FDI, some failed and left. You may recall Ford. And again, I have a story on Ford because the vice president came and met me, but I'll leave that for another time. And of course, subsequently, South Korean firms came in and competed with the Japanese. But there is an issue here. Because we kept protection very high, the way I had envisaged it, and the finance ministry believed that at that time, that there would be a gradual reduction over time of the protection for fully developed cars. So, did this protection impede innovation? I think that's one of the issues we have to see. When there's less pressure to compete, is there less innovation? So that's still a question mark, though I think we largely succeeded in creating at least some competitive advantage in small cars. And this was explicitly in my mind when we made those suggestions for opening up competition. And one of the arguments I made at that time was that we are unlikely to be a big competitor in large and medium-sized firms, but I think we can carve out, given the domestic market, carve out the space in the small parts. Again, I'm sure the people from the auto industry have better information. The Thai example is also interesting because, and that's the contrast, which I said, this dual thing we adopted. Toyota entered Thailand in the early 60s, 1962 actually. Their first production facility was set up 17 years later, 1979. And it led to high FDI, GDP, and among the fastest growth rates after Japan and South Korea. Thailand is one of the most successful examples of attracting FDI and using it to grow. And as Japan was at that time one of the largest and fastest growing auto markets producers in the 1980s, they had this advantage of getting deeply entrenched into those supply chains, into the auto supply chains in the period of 20-25 years after that. And one of the results is seen in the India-ASEAN FTA, which happened in 2003. We expected a lot of two-way trade, but what happened, in my view, is that because these supply chains were so well established, it was difficult for us to break into those supply chains, but they used our market to expand their exports. So again, this is a contrast to the supply chain, and maybe it has some lessons for the future. That's why I mentioned it. And finally, you all know the People's Republic of China, PRC. They deliberately chose selectively a few companies to come in, and they forced transfer of technology to state party-linked firms, forced backward integration companies like VW basically was the big choice they made. But they also used it, incentives to the China market to give an offset, so to say, this forced integration. Now, the problem, of course, is that it's virtually impossible for free, open democracies to do this kind of forcing. It has many negative effects. And so, the question is there any lesson for us? I think the only opening there is the strategic defense exception in WTO, where in some sense we can, to some degree, reciprocate the policies used by PRC. And finally, we come to the next level, which is really the future, which really is the focus of what Ishtiaq has been trying to do, is the global value chains and how to use the EV process to kind of leapfrog technology. So, of course, China put in heavy investments in R&D, state-sponsored, and basically monopolized the EV space, as you're now seeing from the rise of BVW and its export market. For those who don't know, in the last 5 to 10 years, they've completely swamped the EU market because they're the cheapest producer of these things. So where do we go from here? India already is actually in two-wheelers. We are at the frontier, as many two-wheeler manufacturers of EVs told us. So really the issue is of catch-up in cars and four-wheelers. In my view, cooperation with US, EU, UK, etc. is important to get into the MNC supply chain, incentivize the shift in GVCs from PRC to India, and one way to do that would be higher tariffs on imports from PRC, but based on cumulative value added in the PRC. Of course, it's a very difficult process, but I don't see any other way. I mean, we can't openly discriminate. That's the difference I pointed out. FTAs with US, EU, UK, Japan, we already have with Japan and South Korea. So we have with cumulative rules of origin for this set of countries, I think can be an important driver, with some kind of upper limit on value addition in PRC. I don't think the high numbers we have, 30-40% in our normal rules of origin, are good. It has to be more selective and more focused along the lines which I just just indicated. And of course, the PLI, again, we will hear more from you on that. I think the production linked incentives are really key. Thank you. I'm sorry I took a little.
Perfect, absolutely. Thank you.